morning, beautiful people. Welcome to yet another episode of the Younib Breakfast Show. I hope you guys have woken up well and are excited to face your day. Yeah? Please let us know through our social media platform how you're feeling your morning is. Yeah? Remember, you can always interact with us through our social media platforms. Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719 144 144. As it is the norm here at the Younib Breakfast Show, let's go straight to the morning bite of the day. So today our conversation is all about family relationships, and we all know we are all from a family, yeah, and it is very important actually to have a good relationship and a healthy relationship in that matter when it comes to handling your families. Yeah, so this is a conversation that will affect all of us, depending, even though you are going through a tough time with your family members, or you find yourselves that maybe in one way or another you think that so many things or so many issues are going through in your family. Yeah, today our conversation will be helping you in matters family relationships, to help you also with your mental health. Yeah, and as you know, if I mention mental health, you already know that this show is proudly brought to you by Miss Your Ashen and Younib organization, and we are trying to reach out to the community to teach you on matters mental health. Yeah, so if you have any issues, you can always call the number 0700 352 250, and our very own psychologist will be able to help you out. Yeah, with me are some of our psychologists here, and actually allow me, guys, to introduce to you guys our psychologists and also to ask them how their morning is. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys feeling this morning?
Well, I'm doing very okay today. I'm really excited to be here. It's a beautiful morning, and I'm really hoping to dive into the conversation for the day.
Okay, karibu sana.
Thank you.
Yes, Beulah.
I am doing well, thank you. Yeah, the morning so far so good. Happy to be here.
You're happy to be here. Karibu tena sana. You should all feel comfortable, and I know already you are at home. Yeah. So today's conversation, we are having a conversation on family relationship. But before we get there, there's some of the people who don't know who you are. Yeah. So kindly just look at the camera. Najua tumewamiss sana in front of our screen. That is tumewamiss sana. Yeah. So please, Beulah, tuanze na wewe. Even though I've mentioned your name, please,
Right.
for the people who don't know who you are and what you do here, kindly introduce yourself.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Beulah Njagi. As Peninah had mentioned, I am a psychologist or a counselor by profession. I work at PSC, that's Psychosocial Support Center, where we just strive to create an open space for you to come and experience yourself and allow us into that experience. And I'm so excited to be doing this with the Younib organization, where we are running a mental health program, and we're trying to reach out to you who is watching, and as many as we can, and just, learn together about this thing called mental health, demystify it, and, help as many people as we can. Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mutembei Muthami. I'm also a psychologist by profession, working with PSC, that is Psychosocial Support. Beulah and I are colleagues. I'm sorry today we don't have one of our other psychologists in this mental program Younib, but I'm pretty sure she's going to be back next time.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited just to grace the screens today, help you talk about the difficult conversations that sometimes you don't want to have, and strive for a better well-being and a better general well-being.
So thank you so much for actually coming, taking your time to come and help us dissect the conversation on family relationships. Yeah. So as I start this conversation, my first question is, how do you define a healthy family relationship in from a psychological perspective?
Right. So I would say a healthy family relationship is a relationship, of course, within the family, right?
Yeah.
And family can be defined. I think it's important for us to define who
What
we're talking
family
about.
is,
Yes,
yeah.
because sometimes we say they're friends who are family.
Yeah.
But I think as of today, we're referring to, parents, children, siblings, perhaps even the extended, the grandparents, aunties, uncles. So that relationship that allows you to be yourself, one, that provides a supportive environment, provides a secure environment for you to be yourself, for you to also grow. a relationship whereby you're able to have conflict, yes, because every relationship has that friction. For as long as, even within yourself, there's always that friction, but you're able to move past it, you're able to resolve it, you're able to be respectful with each other, you're able to have fun together, you're able to have conversations together, and you're also able to grow together. So I would define that as a space where there are boundaries, and there are also values that are being upheld that are helping every member of that family become the best version of themselves. Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've understood what a healthy family looks like, yeah. So, Mutembei, what are some of the common unhealthy characteristics or toxic characteristics that we can say from a toxic family?
Okay, that's interesting because Beulah is just from describing what a healthy family relationship or dynamic looks like. Um, from the top of my head, I would say a toxic family dynamic is a place where you don't feel seen, a place where you don't feel heard, a place where you don't feel safe. Safe in that sometimes you find that there's a lot of commotion, there's a lot of conflict at home. So, in as much as there's conflict, it does not involve you as a person. It also plays a part into how you show up to the people that are in your life. So, when we talk about a toxic family relationship or a dynamic, this is somewhere where you cannot be your authentic self. You feel like you always have to hide who you are as a person simply because you want to keep the peace. You don't want to disrupt the peace that is there, and it just feels like you're walking on eggshells. Yeah, so I understand that sometimes in life you say that sometimes my family is very okay, but there's that one dysfunctional family member. So it could be that the family setting in its own composition in its own composition is doing okay, but there's a family member or there's somebody within that dynamic who disrupts the peace of that the entirety of that dynamic. So in a nutshell, to wrap it up, I feel that a toxic family dynamic is somewhere where you're not appreciated, you not feel seen, it doesn't feel like home.
Okay, we've gotten to know the characteristics to the sense that we can be able to say we are in an unhealthy or a toxic family relationship. Yeah. So, to my next question, Beulah, why do family relationships sometimes become more strained than friendship or romantic relationships?
Wow, that's a very good question. I think sometimes it's said that the wounds that come from those ones who are closest hurt the most,
Yeah.
right? And I would say it's because there is a lot of family issues are very deep rooted. They're very deep rooted in terms of the emotions involved, in terms of sometimes even the expectations that you're having of family, right? And sometimes family issues are they did not start with your family, like say it's you're the child. It didn't start with just mom, dad, and you. It started with grandparents, your dad, grandparents, your mom. So it can be very widespread, even as you're drawing the family tree. And it can also be very deep rooted and very deep seated, because some of the wounds that occur in a family, most of the wounds that happen when you are a child, when you do not have language to articulate what is happening, when your mind can also not comprehend. So if we're to use my hand as the image of the brain, call this the brainstem, right? So this my wrist is the brainstem, my knuckles are the prefrontal cortex, and what's hiding here is the limbic system, right? So this is the one that advances when we're told you've not matured until you're 20 something. It's this part, the prefrontal one, that's responsible for the decision and critical thinking and all that good thing. This is responsible for your emotions and how regulated or dysregulated you are, right?
Yeah.
But this is responsible, the brainstem, for your basic human functioning. So when wounds occur when you're such a little child, it's this part of the brain that's responding. This one it just acts on instinct. It has no language, it doesn't understand. It just knows this is not supposed to happen. And so when you grow up with such wounds, imagine you have no language for why you're feeling that way about your mom, but it's because of something that happened as a child, perhaps neglect or abuse or whatever it was. So you find that the wounds from family are very deep-seated, very, very deep emotional wounds. And I think that's why it becomes harder than a friendship or, romantic partner wounds.
Okay, I like that. We've gotten to know in details how we can be able to figure out mostly trauma, yeah? And if you find yourself and you're feeling that you have been traumatized with your family, yeah, you can always call the number to book a session for yourself. By calling 0700 352 250, and our very own psychologist will be able to help you out and to identify what specifically is the issue when it comes to your traumas, yeah, and what happens to make you feel comfortable and how you can be able to now navigate having a healthy family relationship, yeah. As we're going for this short break, I'd like you guys to just inform us or tell us something about a memorable thing that you have done with a family, yeah, that made you, that you don't actually forget, that you will always remember or carry with you. It can be funny, it can be very serious. So please let us know through our social media platforms. But for now, let's take this short break and we'll be back with more. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show. And before the break, I had asked you guys of funny memories or memories that you have with your family members, and I'll sample some of them. The first one, my mom once beat me for something I dreamt about and confessed. I was half asleep. The second one, every December, my aunties gang up like Avengers to ask when I'm getting married. I start faking phone calls as soon as I see them. The next one is my siblings and I used to fake sickness on exam day until my mom brought a thermometer and holy water. Someone else says, at every family function, my uncle becomes the self-declared DJ. Man plays the same 5 songs from 2003 like it is Coachella. And finally, I think I'll do the last one or the second last. My grandmother used to hide money in her bra and forget where she put it until someone switched the TV to news. Boom, she remembered everything. And then finally, family roast sessions on Christmas, elite, until it's your turn. And then they bring up how you failed to crawl as a baby. So these are quite interesting, actually, family memories. And I like the way you guys are always open to sharing with us about your conversation. So keep on sharing with us, keep on sending your views, keep on telling us also the topics that you like to hear from us, yeah, because it's through you that we are able to bring you whatever you want and the kind of help that you really need, yeah. So coming back to our conversation, Mutembei, what are some of the effective ways that families can improve on their communications?
I feel like the first thing before we even get to the family, let's start with how can I start communicating effectively? Because it's very easy for us to mistake that or to view communication or change within a group as opposed to looking at it from an individual perspective. So ways There ways in which that you can effectively change communication patterns within a family, starting by you. Ask yourself this: am I a good communicator? So that, because if in the event that I am not, and then I happen to work on myself and work on my communication skills, my family, my brothers, my dad, my mom, my relatives, they are going to mirror that image, because they're going to look at me, they're going to listen to me articulate my words, my thoughts properly, and then maybe they'll be like, oh, okay, the fact that he's able to communicate this to me, that means that I should also maybe so once your family members are able to, like, recognize that you're able to communicate effectively, they're going to mirror your communication style as a response. So in the event that I'm able to line up my whatever it is that I wanted to communicate to my family, they are able to listen, they're able to communicate also clearly on what their stand is. So if we look at the family dynamic as a unit, let's ask ourselves, what are the parts that are making up this family dynamic? Because there are going to be people who are going to be very vocal in a family, there are going to be people who are going to be very shy. So it's all about you as a person. Since now we are empowering you, our viewer, it's about you to recognize what kind of people, what kind of communicators do you have within your family setting. In the event that you have people who are very vocal, you could start by telling them, I don't really appreciate the way you get very vocal whenever you are upset, whenever maybe something does not go your way. And then in the event that maybe it could be yourself, it could be maybe your brother or your sister who does not communicate about their emotions. Simply just because somebody does not communicate does not mean that they are okay. That does not mean that they don't have anything to say. So if they, in the event that you notice that somebody keeps to themselves, they really don't communicate about their emotions, take the stand. Take the initiative. Ask them, how are you feeling today? I've noticed that you've been very quiet. Personally, I feel this and this way about whatever it is that is happening. So what do you think about this? At the beginning itakaa ni kama ni udaku kwa sababu
Yeah.
uko like, sasa wewe mbona unataka kuja kuniuliza hii story yenye mzai alisema asubuhi, unaonaje? It's going to look like udaku, it's going to look like gossip, but what you might not realize is that you're teaching this person how to communicate. And as much as you're also learning and you're also communicating yourself, it becomes a collective experience as opposed to you alone. So it's all about you taking the stand to be a good communicator and learning how to communicate effectively, and then incorporating the other people within your family dynamic. But above all, it's all about boundaries. I feel like we should also mention about boundaries, because often than not, you find that some people they're very cold towards other family members simply because they are dealing with a lot of stuff. They're not able to communicate, and the boundaries that they have set in place is to stonewall. So you find that unashangaa, mbona bradhangu siku hizi inafikanga masaa ingine at certain times of the week or the month haniongeleshi, simply because their way of setting up boundaries is not in a healthy way. So in as much as people, you're setting up boundaries for people not to bombard you with information, there also needs to be the communication of just how much am I also can you also take from me? So you find that sometimes we don't really communicate about our boundaries effectively. So you feel like maybe I don't know if my sister is willing to help me out with my finances. They don't know if they can ask me about their education. So you get caught up in a loop of miscommunication simply because you didn't even nobody knows what you want, or nobody knows who you are as a person.
Yeah. And I like the fact that you have said that first you should start personally, yeah, on a personal note. And Beulah, my next question comes from that, yeah. So what or how can someone express the difficult feelings to a parent or sibling without escalating conflict?
Right. I think I'd first say check on the safety. I mean, you're the one who knows your family. There are some families, again, because of experiences, and we're not here to judge, but there's some families where you try and say something to mom or dad, aki levitate kupata. You're not even sure paliutalala after that, yeah? So check on your safety, check on how you know your family members to respond to things, because you've lived with them. We also usually know, if we're siblings, I know exactly where to trigger you for, whatever kind of reaction that I get from you. So let's start by that process of, learning your families, learning the patterns that you see around the family. And so when you learn that pattern, we're looking for a place to break it. If you notice that conflict is escalated, immediately everyone comes home, then give it a bit of time. Don't address issues just when watu wamefika, wapatie time wakule, maybe ninja. Maybe you notice after dinner or during dinner, people are much more relaxed and more open to hearing. So learn what those patterns are. Number two would also be, as you're still considering safety, could it be that you confronting the issue, you expressing yourself just to them, that you may not be heard, you may not be understood, or that emotions may become too heightened or too escalated? In those instances, is there someone that you can bring in to kind of help you have that conversation? Is there an auntie? Is there whoever that is, who can kind of serve like as a mediator so that you still express what is happening? I think another option I would give is also looking at ways in which people receive information, because sometimes, for example, if we were having a discussion here and I point out something, say Mutembei told me that I don't feel nice about, and maybe it could be my tone or it just could be where he is, he may get defensive. Sindo na get defensive, ataanza hata nisikiza, itakuwa about him defending himself or justifying or whatever. But if I was to write down, whatever I want to tell him, and I leave it for him, and I'm like, ukimaliza kusoma, when you're ready, come, we can have the conversation. Maybe by the time he's coming to have the conversation, he's also processed it differently. Imetoka from the heightened emotions. It's now a bit more mellow, there's a bit more understanding. So you could look into what other ways of communicating can you use rather than confronting directly. Yeah.
Okay, I like the fact there's something you've mentioned, and I just remembered my primary school teacher. Yeah, our primary school teacher used to tell us, if you want something, go to your dad the time they're eating. It's the best time. You will never be told no. Yeah, so it's good also to know your family members, know when they're very comfortable, when you can be able to go and openly share. Yeah, so for me, that advice has been very good, because once you get your dad seated and you find them eating, you're always asking, you receive. What do you want? You get. Yeah, so as much as you're going to our family members, it's also good to know when is the right time, because you might go and this person has been busy, is really overwhelmed, and you go and try to give them information, and then unapata tu ni kelele inakufuata. Yeah, so it's good for us to check on the way we do it and also the time that we go and approach them. Yeah, with that, I want us to take a short break, and we'll be back with more. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show. Remember, this show is proudly brought to you by Miss Yo Ashen and Younib Organization, and we're trying to reach out to the community to teach you on matters mental health. So if you need any psychological help, you can always call the number 0700 352 250, and our very own psychologist will be able to help you out. Yeah. So coming back to the conversation, and this question goes to you, Mutembei. Is it ever okay to actually cut off a family member because of your mental health?
This is going to be very controversial because it's one of those make or break moments, especially because these are people who raised you. And these are people who you've known your entire life up until you got to a point where, ni kama hapa hatuendi mahali pazuri. So it's usually very controversial, very delicate, very sensitive. But personally, I don't. Maybe Beulah will tell her 2 cents, but I personally I do advocate for that. And here's why. Msinipige kwanza. Here's why. Because I keep telling people that the moment that you realize that nobody came into this life with a manual, nobody knows what life is supposed to be like, you totally understand people. What I mean by this is that sometimes the toxic people in our families, sometimes the people who who cause us the most pain, they're also going through something. They're also reacting through life and they have never been alive in that moment ever before. So kila mtu ako uhai for the first time in their life today in this moment, which means that the collective sum of the experiences have shaped them who they are as a person. So the way they present themselves towards the outside world is simply a reaction of their childhood experiences. Now you once you understand that, now you're able to also give yourself some grace, because you'll find that your experiences in life, they have shaped who you are as a person. Na umeona yenyewe, maybe you had a good experience growing up and you're very secure, or you have done a lot of inner child work, you're very secure in who you are as a person. So now you recognize other people in your life who don't no longer serve you that purpose. So consider it like a tumor, in the event that sometimes maybe it started out maybe like as a tattoo. It was really beautiful at the beginning, and then it got an infection. Then maybe later on became a really bad thing, and now you have to get it treated. Same case applies to our families. Sometimes the people who we feel like they're supposed to offer us the support, they're supposed to offer us their care. Maybe they are also dealing with a lot of things in their personal lives that they don't share to you. I don't think most parents usually share to their children or to their other parents whatever it is that they're going through. And I'm pretty sure that PFCC, there are things that we also don't tell our friends and everything. So we keep them to ourselves, and we also react to that in different perspectives, in different ways. So the moment you understand that it's okay for people to be broken, it's okay for people to be hurt, it's okay for other people to be very painful, you now ask yourself, do I want to be part of that healing journey for them? I am very secure in myself. I've done the work myself, but now that is why I'm able to recognize that maybe my brothers, maybe my mom, maybe my dad, they're not really good people. And it hurts to realize that mazee familia yetu watu si wazuri. But what role are you going to do that? Are you going to realize that my family members are very toxic, I'm just going to cut them off, or are you going to bring them into a space of healing? That's why it said it was very controversial, because it starts with you. So it takes a toll on you, because you come to the realization, and then now what you decide to do after that is up to you now. Do you want to keep them? Do you want to keep them around? Try and psychoeducate them about their challenges, because sometimes maybe they don't even know. Cut off mtu na yeye anashangaa huyu ni nini kulienda aje. Yeah. So in the event that you feel like somebody is very toxic for you and you want to get to a point where you want to cut them off, you can maybe bring them to the space where you explain to them why it is that you feel like they no longer serve your purpose. If they do accept to do the work and change the situation, well and good. But if you are adamant about your boundaries and the way they show up for you, and they still continue to do the same things over and over again, then hakuna budi ila.
So it all depends with you, yeah, as an individual. If you see you can be able to change them, change them. If you see you can't, and if you tried and you can't, you can just now cut them off. Okay, so I hope we've taken the advice. Yeah. So to my next question, Beulah, in a family we have different people, and definitely there's the eldest, there's the last born, yeah, and each and everyone has a responsibility, and many people will say the eldest one is the second parent. Yeah, you'll find a lot of people saying, if I am the firstborn, I'm definitely the second parent. Yes. So there's a lot of things we should consider when it comes to the birth order. So my question is, how do family roles, like being the eldest child, the black sheep of the family, or the fixer, there are those people who always fix everything out. You might be the last born, but you are the fixer. Everyone is coming to you, do this for me, oh, do this for me, yeah, really affect someone's mental health.
Right. That's a very good question. But I think before I dive into that, I just want to change a bit of the statement you made.
Mm-hmm.
We can't change them. So we're deciding whether we can live with that, should they not change, or whether we need to go our ways. We can support them in their change,
But
because what happens there is we take on responsibility, which is now spilling over even to the question you've asked. Because sometimes these roles are created, the deputy mother,
yeah.
or in family systems there's this thing that's called triangulation. And oftentimes you find that if the parents are not okay, they pick someone to triangulate. That's how you find mom anakuanga na huyu wameshikana hivi na dad akona wake wameshikana hivi, and you cannot touch wa dad. And the fights now will even become, if mom has a problem with ule wa dad, is a problem again.
Yeah.
Those roles develop out of allow me to call them some form of dysfunction, because they're coming in to fill certain spaces. And again, I was on the point of changing someone. It would put now someone in the fixer role, where you think now you take on responsibility for everything that is happening, or for everyone's thoughts, everyone's decisions, everyone's emotional states, and it can get very exhausting. So what happens when we get into these roles? We have the firstborn, whom we've called second parent, deputy mother, because oftentimes it's the firstborn girl that bears the brunt of that role. And the thing is, they do take that into every other space that they're in. So at the workplace, they may look like they're thriving, that they're the ones who are given all the responsibility, but you may find that it's not that they want the responsibility, it's that they don't know how to sit back, because they never got to just sit back and be a child or just be yourself. So there's always that muasho too in certain spaces. But you'll also find that they struggle a lot with their relationships, because they're not used to being taken care of. So it's always them pouring out into others, and then they go home and they're very drained. So these are the ones we'd find with high functioning depression, high functioning anxiety, because they've learned to function with that. It's not good for them. It's harming them, possibly even harming their physical health, but it's all that they've learned how to do. Same goes for the fixer. Now we have this black sheep. Umezoea wewe tu ndio ule unabeba dhambi zote za familia. And what happens with that is you get into habits that can be very destructive. Again, it could be because the expectation is huyu ndo anakuanga ule mbaya. So you'd find that black sheep, oftentimes yeye ndo akona mashida na drugs or substance use. Yeye ndo akona shida na relationships. Yeye ndo mna expect ati he's in his marriage now, because nothing usually works out for him. So you see those destructive behaviors that probably that person learned actually could be as a way of coping with trauma. As a child, that person could have learned that when mom and dad fight and I do something naughty, they stop fighting, they actually team up to correct me. So you see that black sheepness could have been a way of them preventing conflict in the family from escalating. But now as it goes up in life, it becomes something that affects them to the point of their functionality. It's very easy for them to become dysfunctional. Yeah, so I know it's a much longer conversation, but I'm seeing hands going up. I don't want to put you in trouble with yes. But yeah, surely the roles that we take on in families do have a ripple effect on ourselves, how we view ourselves, on our relationships, both romantic and friendships, and definitely on our mental health.
Okay. And I hope you've taken notes, because that is really important again. And I hope you've gotten to learn something from that. Yeah. And to sum up, and Mutembei, please take the least time, because you see my director will swallow me. But yeah, so give advice to anybody, a youth out there who feels like they're being misunderstood by their guardians and also maybe their parents.
I would say extend grace to yourself, because at the end of the day, you cannot have been misunderstood if you didn't communicate. So once you extend the grace to yourself, that I am actually willing to communicate, but the other person is not, it's not your fault that they don't want to understand. They could try to, but if they can't, maybe then you go back to the drawing board and then try and explain it, try and communicate in a more simpler terms. But in the event that they don't want to listen or they are unwavering, then extend the same grace and tell yourself, I tried.
Yeah, awesome advice. Yeah, and I hope this conversation has been of help to all of you. Yeah, and I hope that it will build your family dynamics. It will help you be able to have a very positive and also healthy family dynamic. Yeah, so thank you so much for helping us be able to tackle this conversation. And I hope you guys, if you feel like you've seen the signs of a toxic family relationship you have, or maybe probably you feel like you are one of those people who feels, okay, I need to cut off these family members. Yeah, you can always seek for psychological help from our own psychologist through the number 0700-352-250, and they will be able to help you out here. I'd like to extend my gratitude to everyone who has made this show a success. Thank you so much, Kwanza, to you, our guests here, for helping us be able to actually know more about family relationships. Yeah, thank you also to the director, who has been Elias Mushina, and also he has been behind the camera, and with the help of Rose Chege. Yeah? Thank you also to our timekeeper. We have Eunice there, who has been keeping our time together with Ben Rimui. Asanteni sana for making this show a success. Yeah, and to our viewers, thank you so much for always ensuring that every Tuesday and Wednesday morning you're always there to watch the Younib Breakfast Show. We really, really appreciate your support and also your feedback. Asanteni sana, and it's always good for you to share these conversations to people who you feel they need the help. So please, if today you've seen somebody who has an issue with the family dynamic, please ensure that you help them by sending the link to them, so that they can also seek the help they need. Yeah. So until next time, do have yourselves a beautiful day ahead. Goodbye.